All ladies and gents, this is Napoleon, 1813, road to Leipzig. In the past, we saw the Napoleon's invasion of Russia that didn't pan out so well. The winter came, Napoleon wasn't prepared for it. He lost massive amount of his army. He went in with 500,000 of his army. I think he came back with about 20,000 or so. That is immense level of loss. That was near a horror movie by the end of it. And he went back to Paris and it was all for nothing. So I think his image was already kind of dwindling. But after this, people might try to attack him. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm pretty sure everybody will try to attack, even who wasn't going to attack before, because they see a weakness. So let's watch it.
1812 had been a disastrous year for Napoleon. His invasion of Russia had led to the almost total destruction of an army of 500,000 men. Now Poland and Germany were wide open to Russian attack. Some advised Emperor Alexander that this was the time to make a favourable peace with Napoleon. Russia's own armies had been mauled and Western Russia devastated. But Alexander was determined to see.
Why would he make peace now? He just saw Napoleon losing almost all of his army, 500,000 of them. He knows that whatever army he has left, most of them are not going to be experienced because they would have been new recruits. So why would he make peace now? And Russians are not one to, history tells us, Russians are not one that, whenever there is massive loss in their side, if they see a strategic time to strike, they will strike regardless of how many losses they suffered. So why would they, make peace now? They are gonna go for kill.
Napoleon defeated for good, to free Europe from his clutches and avenge Moscow's destruction by taking Paris. Napoleon's allies were deserting him. Prussian troops had already agreed a truce with the Russians. Schwarzenberg's corps marched back to Austria, which assumed a policy of watchful neutrality. Napoleon had left Marshal Murat in charge of the remnants of the army, but he left for the Kingdom of Naples, hoping to cut a deal with the Allies that would let him keep his throne. He was replaced by Napoleon's stepson Eugene.
Murat abandoned Napoleon. Damn. You're screwed. Your image is screwed if your own people are, running away to, they have no faith in Napoleon now. Murat just ran away thinking allies might let him keep his throne. Damn.
Who'd proved himself a brave and able soldier in Russia, but was unused to independent command, and now faced odds of 4-1. As Russian forces advanced through Poland, he continued to retreat west, leaving garrisons to hold strategic fortresses, most of which were soon besieged. On the 7th of February, Russian troops entered Warsaw unopposed. Napoleon's Polish client state, the Duchy of Warsaw, effectively ceased to exist. 3 weeks later, Russian troops entered Berlin, while Sweden joined the Allies.
See, there you go. There you go. Sweden, who wouldn't have taken part in this, saw that, Napoleon ran away after massive losses. They saw that, Russians are taking over places without any close to resistance. Because let's be honest, French army is incredibly weak right now. So Sweden what, this is the time to strike. Because let's be honest, every country that France took over, they are all France's enemy, regardless of what, because they are all pissed that Napoleon take over all of them. That's what happens when you strong arm and take everything around you. Even that you think are your allies are not really your allies. The time comes, they will strike you in the back.
Sweden was ruled by Napoleon's former Marshal Bernadotte, now officially known as Crown Prince Karl Johan. Many would accuse him of betraying Napoleon, but he'd always been clear that once he became Sweden's Crown Prince, he'd pursue Swedish interests, which is what he now claimed to do. In exchange for Norway, to be taken from France's ally Denmark, and £1 million from Britain, Bernadotte agreed to join what was now the sixth coalition against France since the Revolution, with an army of 30,000 troops. 10 days later,
It's still a betrayal, because you were part of Napoleon's army, and now you're gonna fight against him. At least stay neutral. If you're gonna fight against Napoleon, you are kind of betraying him in a sense. Even though I get it that he's part of Sweden now, he's seeing Sweden, he's favoring Sweden's interest in front of anybody else. But still, not staying neutral and attacking Napoleon, that's kind of betraying.
Frederick William of Prussia declared war on France. It followed weeks of indecision. The king was widely seen as a weak character and terrified of Napoleon. But with guarantees of Russian military support, the return of lost territory, and enormous financial and material aid from Britain, he agreed to field an army of 80,000 men. On the 17th of March, he issued a proclamation to the people of Prussia and Germany, "An mein Volk," to my people, summoning them to fight for Prussia and Germany's honor, in what would soon be known as the German War of Liberation. The Prussian army had been greatly reformed since its humiliating defeat to Napoleon in 1806. A military commission headed by General von Scharnhorst had sacked nearly 200 old generals and abolished flogging, expanded recruitment and introduced exams for officers, and overhauled training, tactics and drill.
Damn, he abolished flogging, brought on all the exams, changing up drills. He's kind of modernizing army tactics here.
When Napoleon met the new Prussian army in battle 2 months later, he remarked, "These animals have learned something." Small consolation, they'd learned most of it from him.
Yeah.
This video is sponsored by CuriosityStream, home of more than 2,500 online documentaries, exploring science, technology, the natural world, and of course, history. This month we've been watching a French documentary about that other great warrior son of France, William the Conqueror. William is famed for his bloody victory over the English at Hastings in 1066. But here we also learn about William's early life in Normandy, his loving marriage, and the long struggle to acquire his English kingdom. The reconstructions are high quality, the experts are insightful, and William the Conqueror gets a thumbs up from us. There are many other high-end documentaries like this waiting to inform and entertain you at CuriosityStream, which is available worldwide, and an online subscription starts from just $2.99 a month. Remember to use the promo code EPICHISTORYTV at sign-up to get your first 30 days free. Thanks to CuriosityStream for sponsoring this video.
Yeah, okay. Only a short time ago I was the conqueror of the world, commanding the largest and finest army of modern times. That's all gone now. Well, that's kind of your fault, isn't it? You already had battles going on in Spain. British forces are already were in Portugal, invading Spain and battling your armies. At that time you decided, you know what, I'm gonna let that hang there. I'm gonna take 500,000 of my army and go to Russia in the winter that's coming, and I won't take any preparation for winter. And then you had most of your army killed while running the winter. Weather killed most of them. That's incredibly stupid. He should have had all the preparation for weather, blankets and things like that.
As his enemies massed in Germany, Napoleon was in Paris, working tirelessly to build a new army with which to face them. 137,000 new conscripts joined the army, and laws passed to call up 100,000 more, while 40,000...
That is so effed up, man, seriously. Conscripts, whether you want it or not, you have to fight in army. That law should only be applied if you are the one who's getting invaded. If the whole point of it is that you have a ruler that is so out of his mind that he wants to take everybody's other grounds and places, everybody else's country, and not to defend your own, and yet you still force your own citizens to fight for you and die. That's just effed up, man. That shouldn't be the reason behind conscripts. Conscripts should only be used when you are the one getting invaded. Like in World War II, Nazi Germany was taking over everything. At that time, you used the conscripts to defend yourself against the massive power. But this is just stupid. You want to take over everybody else's place, and you conscripts lots of people there who doesn't want to fight but have to fight just because you want Prussia, you want Russia not to defend France. That's just effed up, man. And then tons of them just die like that. Napoleon don't care. He just sees number. That is just effed up, man.
1,000 veterans from the army in Spain, 16,000 Marines, and 80,000 men of the National Guard, a home defence force, were transferred to Germany. The new conscripts were nicknamed Marie-Louises, after Napoleon's young wife, who passed the new conscription laws in his absence.
Okay, so it's already bad that you don't want to fight and now have to fight. You are gonna call now Marie-Louise.
They were young and raw. 2/3 were teenagers, and there was a severe lack of experienced officers and NCOs. In short, the countless irreplaceable veterans now lying beneath Russian soil.
Look at that, people. Marie-Louises are coming. Everybody's afraid.
There's also a critical shortage of cavalry, a crisis mocked by British satirists. It would take Napoleon longer to replace the many thousands of horses and trained horsemen who'd perished in Russia. When Napoleon left Paris for Germany in mid-April, the French situation was precarious. Eugene had been forced back behind the river Elbe to the fortified city of Magdeburg. Dresden, the capital of Saxony, had fallen to the Prussians. The Duchy of Mecklenburg-Schwerin became the first German state to defect from Napoleon's Confederation of the Rhine. Russian Cossacks raided as far as Hamburg, inspiring local revolts against French occupying forces.
That is the best thing about whenever you're the one opposing of some massive power like Napoleon. All you have to do is reach to a certain place and just inspire them. See, we can come here, we can reach all the way here. Napoleon is not as strong as he used to be. That's all you have to do to rile up people there, because people there, regardless of if they are with Napoleon or not, already hate Napoleon because he strong-armed everybody. He took places by force. So even if they are aligned with Napoleon, they just waiting for a chance to defect. So whenever they just went to Hamburg, like, see, we came here. Napoleon is not strong anymore. You can rise up. So all people have to do is ally themselves to the Allied forces.
Austria stood on the sidelines, so far declining to back either side. Napoleon's miraculous feat of organization meant he now had more than 200,000 troops in Germany. And the Emperor's personal magnetism was undimmed. The morale of his army was high. The Russians, on the other hand, lost their iconic commander, Field Marshal Kutuzov, to pneumonia on the 28th of April.
Damn, that's a big
His
one.
role was taken over by General Wittgenstein. Russian troops were exhausted and far from home, their army weakened by the need to contain French garrisons across Poland and Germany. Prussia and Sweden had yet to fully mobilize their strength, and Allied forces barely mustered 100,000 men. They were now heavily outnumbered by Napoleon, and the French Emperor decided to strike quickly. He ordered Marshal Davout to Hamburg with 35,000 men to secure his northern flank. He would march against the Russian and Prussian forces converging on Leipzig to force a decisive battle. Victory would make Austria think twice about joining the Allies, allow him to rescue the 90,000 men trapped in garrisons across Germany and Poland, and re-establish his dominance over Europe. As Napoleon advanced on Leipzig, the Allies faced a predicament: to risk battle against Napoleon's larger army, or give up Germany without a fight, a potentially devastating blow to Allied morale and any chance of winning Austria over to them.
They can't do that. Not after all this. They had chance to make peace, but they didn't. Right now, if they back off, all the thing that they've, tell to the world that Napoleon is not strong. Napoleon ran away. Napoleon is not strong as he used to be. That all goes away if they back out now. So they can't back out now. Because if they wanted to back out, they should have made peace. They didn't. So Allied forces can't back out.
Their cause. Allied headquarters made the bold decision to attack. They knew most of Napoleon's army was made up of raw conscripts.
Yeah, it's the new
their own troops were better trained and had a great superiority in
the Allied forces are experienced army, while Napoleon lost most of his army. So majority of them are just new recruits.
Cavalry and artillery. The Allies agreed that as Napoleon crossed the Saale River, they would hit his right flank before he could concentrate the full mass of his forces. The two armies were on a collision course, but Napoleon's shortage of cavalry meant he lacked information about Allied movements. On the 1st of May, Marshal Bessières, commanding the cavalry in Murat's absence, was carrying out reconnaissance himself when he was hit by a cannonball and killed instantly. Bessières was the second of Napoleon's marshals to be killed in action, and like Lannes, an old comrade and trusted friend. The Allies were able to surprise Napoleon, falling on Marshal Ney's Third Corps near Lutzen. Ney's troops had to cling on in the face of a Russian and Prussian onslaught, while Napoleon rapidly redirected his other corps to fall on the enemy's flanks. At one stage, Napoleon had to personally help rally routing troops as they broke in the face of determined Prussian assaults. But on the whole, his young conscripts fought with courage. And despite hours of savage fighting, Wittgenstein could not exploit his early advantage. As French reinforcements arrived, the battle turned against him. Towards dusk, the Allies were forced to break off the engagement, though they'd inflicted around 22,000 casualties, losing just half as many men. General von Scharnhorst mortally wounded.
Wait a minute, I don't think this has happened in the past. I don't think it has happened in the past. French lost near as twice casualties as Allied forces.
Was among them. Crucially, Napoleon's lack of cavalry meant he was unable to pursue the enemy, who retreated in good order. Expecting the Prussians to fall back on Berlin, Napoleon sent Marshal Ney in pursuit, while he continued east. But the Allied army stayed together, withdrawing to a defensive position at Bautzen, deliberately close to the Austrian border, hoping to entice Schwarzenberg to intervene, and daring Napoleon to violate Austrian neutrality. Neither happened. Instead, Napoleon ordered Ney to swing south to fall on the Allies' northern flank, while he launched a frontal assault to pin them in place. The battle lasted 2 days, as French infantry struggled forward against the Prussian and Russian lines. But a misunderstanding over Ney's orders caused a delay that allowed the Allies to narrowly escape Napoleon's trap.
Damn.
Once more, the Allies fought with great determination and inflicted many more losses than they suffered.
God damn, again, look
There
at
were more
that.
casualties.
It's more than twice now. You can see the new recruits. It's showing that he's just throwing bodies there.
During the
He's winning, obviously, but still, look at the casualties, man.
pursuit, including the next day General Duroc, Grand Marshal of the Palace, responsible for Napoleon's personal arrangements, and his closest surviving friend. Riding with Napoleon's staff, a freak cannon shot ricocheted off a tree and disemboweled him. His slow, painful death deeply upset Napoleon. The Emperor continued his pursuit to Breslau, once again hindered by his lack of experienced cavalry, while Oudinot was sent north to take Berlin, but was held at Luckau by von Bülow's Prussian corps. On the 2nd of June, with both sides strained to breaking point, neutral Austria proposed a ceasefire, which, to the surprise of many, Napoleon accepted.
Damn, at once you are such a powerhouse that you didn't have to get strong-armed by anyone. You are the one who's telling people what to do. Now you can see that you're afraid of Austria. Austria tells you to do a ceasefire, you have to, because you can't have Austrian army come after you. You already have less people, and all of those people, most of them are new recruits. At the same time, if Austrian army joins in, that's it for you. So it can already see that Napoleon is, seem weak in front of when he accepted peace, whatever that ceasefire thing from Austria.
The armistice of Plaswitz would last more than 2 months, a period of intense diplomacy and military mobilization by both sides. Napoleon wanted time to rebuild his cavalry, a shortage of which had allowed the Allies to escape twice. But he also wanted to keep Austria on side, which he feared might join the Allies with 200,000 troops, even though Emperor Francis I was now his father-in-law.
Yeah, he married a
since
daughter.
Napoleon's marriage to his daughter, Marie-Louise, in 1810. Austrian Foreign Minister Clemens von Metternich, who'd become one of 19th century Europe's most influential statesmen, now took center stage. Metternich wanted peace and to see Austria restored as a great European power, which meant Napoleon contained, but not crushed, which would hand too much power to Russia. In June, he travelled to Dresden to ask Napoleon to make concessions, while promising the Allies that if he did not, Austria would join them. But Napoleon dismissed Metternich's terms out of hand. He would not return the Illyrian provinces to Austria, agree to the repartition of Poland, or the breakup of the Confederation of the Rhine. All were out of the question. Napoleon famously threw his hat to the ground in fury. Peace and war lie in your Majesty's hands, Metternich is said to have warned him. Today you can still make peace. Tomorrow it may be too late. But Napoleon preferred war to what he called a humiliating peace.
I mean, yeah, obviously, you see his point, man. He went to Russia with 500,000 of his army, lost all of them, then had to go back to France, conscripts a lot of his young recruits, come back and push back against Allied forces, losing near 50 plus thousands of his army again, and now he's supposed to make peace and go back to France. I mean, how can he go back to France without angering his own people? When his people go like, what was the point of losing 500,000 of our army, conscripting our civilians again, and losing 50,000 of them, and then you make peace? So right now, peace is out of question. There's no way in hell Napoleon would make peace now, because if he does, he's done. He can't go back to his country. People will rile up against him.
On the 12th of August 1813, Austria joined the Sixth Coalition and declared war on France. The Allies now had a numerical advantage of 3-2.
Seriously.
And a new strategy, the Trachenberg Plan.
It's not just 3-2. Napoleon's most of army is, new young recruits, while the Allies are not, and they are more of them. And not just that, look at him. Napoleon is here and he's surrounded. How badly strategically can you be? Look at that.
Recognizing Napoleon's genius, the Allies would avoid battle with the Emperor and instead target his marshals, threaten his flanks, and wear down French forces, until it was time to close in for the kill. Over the next few months, the coalition would also receive massive material support from Britain, including
there's that.
£8 million in silver and gold coin, 200 cannon with transport, 120,000 firearms, 18 million rounds of ammunition, 23,000 barrels of gunpowder, 30,000 swords and sabres, 150,000 uniforms, 175,000 pairs of boots,
25,000 more,
£1.5 million of beef, biscuit and flour, and 28,000 gallons of rum and brandy.
That's the main thing right there. Damn, that's a big cargo that they sent. Look at that. More boots than uniform. I don't know why, but look at other things. Sabers, firearms, cannons. That is some... Britain know that this is the time. If we can't defeat Napoleon now, it's going to be impossible later.
The total value of British aid to the coalition in 1813 was £11.3 million. Today, worth around $500 million.
Damn.
Napoleon, meanwhile, had turned Dresden into a major supply depot and strengthened his cavalry arm, though it remained a pale shadow of its glorious past. Murat returned to lead it, his secret approach to the Allies having been rebuffed.
He came back? Napoleon took him back. Damn. Okay. I thought he ran away, but he came back, huh? Yeah, seriously, French cavalry was seriously powerful at the start of these Napoleonic wars, and now look at them. Most of them are died, and now the new one are getting recruited. That's the thing, if you have a powerful army, you need to preserve it. Because when you lose most of them, the new one are not going to be same as what it used to be.
But when news arrived of King Joseph's disastrous defeat to Wellington's Anglo-Spanish-Portuguese army at the Battle of Vittoria, Napoleon had to send Marshal Soult, one of his best commanders, to salvage the situation.
There's still Spain situation going on.
On the 15th of August, Napoleon left Dresden and advanced against what he considered the most urgent threat. the joint Prussian-Russian army of Silesia, commanded by General Gebhard von Blücher.
Whoa, 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 what is he doing, man? He's already surrounded by, look at that, everything. Prussia, Austria, he's gonna move straight ahead and take him. That would give incredible chance for them to trap him. If he goes here, they can just move inside and trap him. What is he doing, man? He can't just go in. He's already in bad position.
Soon to win the nickname Marshal Vorwärts, Marshal Forwards, for his aggressive leadership. But Blücher followed the new plan and retreated when he learned of Napoleon's advance. Napoleon then received news from Marshal Saint-Cyr, holding Dresden with 20,000 men, that Schwarzenberg's gigantic army of Bohemia was approaching, and the city and its supplies were in danger.
There you go, see? Of course they are gonna close it in. They want to trap Napoleon. Napoleon just went straight ahead, they can just come inside. Closing on his flanks.
Napoleon left Marshal MacDonald to keep an eye on Blücher, and raced back to Dresden, sending Van Damme's First Corps to threaten Schwarzenberg's communications. By the time the Allied assault began, enough reinforcements had arrived to fight off the attack. The next day, despite being heavily outnumbered, Napoleon ordered a counterattack. Struggling through mud and heavy rain, Marshal Murat's advance, supported by Victor's Second Corps, broke the Allied left flank and took 13,000 prisoners. The Allies had suffered a disastrous defeat because they'd ignored their own rule: don't take on Napoleon in battle.
God damn, look at that. I thought the result would be different. Napoleon would be trapped and there would be a really bad day for him. But look at that. Near 40,000 Allied casualties and French only 10,000. Napoleon is really incredible on the battlefield, man. Right now he is in really bad position all around the war. His army is mostly new recruits, not experienced, and Allied forces are really overpowering. And he's getting surrounded by everybody. If he kicks back from this and win, that would make him one of the best leaders of all time. If he's not already there, that would really solidify it. Because I don't see him pulling out of this. But if he just kicks everybody's ass now, that would be incredible.
But news soon arrived that turned the situation on its head. Marshal Oudinot had resumed his advance on Berlin with 66,000 men. But in 3 days of heavy combat around Grossbeeren, he was defeated by Bernadotte's Army of the North.
Makes
Some
sense.
of the most savage fighting was between Napoleon's Saxon allies and von Bülow's Prussians, two German states that for now remained on opposing sides. 3 days later, at the Katzbach River, Blücher inflicted a crushing defeat on Marshal MacDonald, driving...
That makes sense, you know. That shows you that yes, French armies are weaker than the Allied armies. Only factor here is Napoleon leading them. So wherever Napoleon is, he just overpowers everybody. But where Napoleon is not there physically, they'll lose.
some French troops into the river itself. MacDonald lost 30,000 men, 3 Eagles and 100 guns, for Blücher's 22,000 casualties. 3 days after Napoleon's victory at Dresden, as Van Damme's corps pursued the Allies, it became trapped in wooded valleys around Kulm and was overrun. General Van Damme himself was dragged from his horse by Cossacks, as he and 10,000 of his men were made prisoner. Napoleon sent Ney to take over from Oudinot, who engaged Bülow's Prussian corps at Dennewitz. The Prussians, fighting to save Berlin, held their own until Russian and Swedish reinforcements arrived to turn the battle decisively in the Allies' favour. Ney's retreat became a rout, with the loss of another 22,000 men.
Ladies and gents, we are witnessing fall of Napoleon. I don't think he's gonna pull out from this. I think by the time this series ends, whatever few videos are left, we are just going to see how Napoleon goes back all the way to France and gets defeated. I think that's what's going to happen now, the way I'm seeing it. Because I don't see Napoleon pulling out of this.
Napoleon's brilliant victory at Dresden had been completely overturned in just 10 days. The Allied plan was working. Napoleon became increasingly frustrated as Allied armies withdrew wherever he advanced, and advanced wherever he was not.
Trapping
Teenage conscripts were exhausted by...
That is the best thing Allied forces have now. Napoleon comes, just retreat and try to trap him so he goes back, because he can't have his flank blocked.
Constant marching, and famished as Saxony had been stripped bare of supplies. Thousands fell sick, thousands more deserted. Russian and Prussian light troops were now operating behind Napoleon's army, harassing his communications with France. Many of Napoleon's marshals advised him to pull back to the River Rhine.
That would make sense.
But Napoleon wasn't giving up Germany without a fight.
Yeah, because after Russia, if he goes back from here, he's already done, man. Even if he doesn't lose by that much, he's already done. People will see him as defeated. He can't do it. He can't back out. I think he realizes that after all of this, the slow slope of defeat is coming. So he's just looking for a great battle to go on, because he's seeing that everybody's closing it on him. He is overpowered, and whatever army he has left are just new recruits. But he can't just go back to France. He would be looked as incredibly defeated, and people would rile up against him. So he knows he can't back out. So all he can wait for is a massive defeat.
By October 1813, Napoleon faced 1/3 Allied troops in Germany, converging on him from 3 directions. 900 miles away, Field Marshal Wellington was crossing the Bidassoa River into France, the first enemy army on French soil in nearly 20 years. While the Kingdom of Bavaria, a French ally since the days of Austerlitz, had secretly agreed to switch sides and would declare war on France on the 14th of October.
Of course that's going to happen. They sense the weakness.
Napoleon planned to defend the line of the River Elbe. But the arrival of General Bennigsen's reserve Russian army freed up Blücher, who suddenly marched to join forces with Bernadotte and forced his way across the Elbe at Wartenberg. Napoleon went north with 150,000 men, seeking the decisive battle that would change his fortunes. But once more, Blücher narrowly escaped him. Then came news from Murat, who'd been left with 67,000 men to cover Schwarzenberg. The enemy had bypassed Dresden and was heading for Leipzig. If the city fell, Napoleon would be cut off from France. Once more, he was advised to fall back to the Rhine. But instead, Napoleon ordered all his forces to concentrate at Leipzig. He would risk everything in one great battle to decide the fate of his empire and the fate of Europe. Thank you to all our Patreon supporters for...
I think Napoleon knows that he's done for. I mean, he's not stupid. He's one of the great generals of great leaders of all time. So he can sense that Allied forces are too powerful and his army is incredibly weak. even the people who are not in the battle are now turning against him. Because of course that would happen. He strong-armed everybody. So people were just waiting for the moment to stab him in the back, and that started to happen now. So he can sense that after Russian defeat, people can sense his weakness and are now turning against him. And he sensed that he's going to be defeated, but he can't just go back to France and face his people. So he's staying there for an incredible, massive battle. And he knows that he's probably going to get defeated. Obviously, his ego, because he's Napoleon, he's like, I can turn around anything. But in his deep mind, he knows that this is it. We are seeing the end of Napoleon right now. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. Maybe he will turn things around. I highly doubt that though. Alright, if you like my reaction, please don't forget to like and subscribe.